Welcome back, y'all. Welcome back. I'm here to do my February wrap up. In February, I read 9 books, so let's just jump into it. First, I'll start with the books that I had the physical copy of, and then I'll go through the books that I read on my Kindle and then what I checked out from the library. So, book number 1, we're going to start with The Giver. This book was one of the books that I received from my husband for the Book Advent Challenge in 2024, and I'm just now getting to it. It was so good. So good. Dystopian. Well, it's not, I want to say, yeah, it's dystopian, but it's set in the future. And it's just talking about like this community, and it's, I don't know, like I feel like a lot of people had to read this in school. I didn't. I thoroughly enjoyed it, but the main character, Jonas, was singled out to receive like this special training, and it's just talking about that process and journey, and it's so good. It's a modern classic, and for good reason, y'all. If y'all haven't read this, and look, it's a short read, but it actually really was good. After I read this, we watched the movie, and I was low-key disappointed with the movie. Like, obviously, I know you got to take liberties and expand here and cut these parts out, but I just feel like it was definitely lacking something. But I probably would have liked it if I hadn't read the book first, so take that how you will. But that was book 1. Then, another book that I got in the Advent Challenge was Denzel Washington's A Hand to Guide Me. This book was actually really good. It was inspirational. It was kind of like self-help almost, kind of a memoir-ish type book, but it has stories from multiple famous people who have accomplished things. They talk about their success. They give tips, and like the title of the book is really what it's about, A Hand to Guide Me. It's really saying like if they had to give you advice or if they wanted to share a story that can inspire you, what would it be? And that's what this is. And it starts out with Denzel. I learned a lot about a lot of these people. Like, for example, I didn't know who David Boies was, the attorney, so I looked him up and seen what he had to offer. Also didn't know the criminal defense attorney, Socrates de la Cruz. Didn't know him. They have Jackie Joyner Kersee in here. Got to know more about them. So I thought this was really good. Yeah, but it had all types of successful people in here. Attorneys, as you just heard me say, athletes, business women and men, actresses and actors, musicians, fighters. It's a really good one. Really good one. I'm low-key sad February coming to an end though. Like I've read some good books so far, and I just feel like I don't know. I'm moving on. Okay, the last 3 physical copy books I have. I told you I'm making my way through Toni Morrison's fictional catalog. So I read Recitative, Beloved, and Tar Baby. So I'm just gonna talk about them in the order that I read them. So first I read Tar Baby, and I do have a full review up of these 3 books. I'll try my best to remember to link it. But this is considered Toni Morrison's love story. Like, not her love story, but it's a love story. And I don't like the romantic love aspect of this book, but I do like the familial relationships. I do like how she personified a lot of things in this book. I like that it's set in the Caribbean. It also takes place in New York City at times. I think they moved to the South as well for a portion of time. Again, you get what you get from Toni. You're gonna get deep things. You're gonna get lyrical, poetic prose, deep introspective work, creativity. So that's what you get in this book. Next, I read Recitative. Y'all, it took me forever to actually pronounce this the right way. Anyways, this is Toni Morrison's only short story. And I typically don't like short stories at all. I'm just not a short story person. But I did like this. So this follows 2 main characters, Twyla and Roberta. And it talks about their relationship to each other and kind of like where they stand in the world almost. But it's a social experiment because Toni Morrison doesn't tell you which one is white and which one is black, but she makes it clear that race does matter. I think that one thing that this book brings to light is like intersectionality. So like while you don't know which one is black and which one is white, you can still see that other things define who you are. There's many more things that go into your identity, things that can make you relate to people or not. And yeah, it was interesting. I don't know, like it was interesting. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna say about that. Let me see. I also read somewhere that most readers read Twyla because it's written from Twyla's point of view. Twyla's point of view. I read somewhere. I don't know if Toni Morrison said it or somebody else like came to this conclusion, but most people, like if you're white and you read this, you read Twyla as being white. But if you're black and you read this, you read Twyla as being black. And then I saw somebody said that they read this one way through, like picturing Twyla as being black, and they read this one way through picturing Roberta as being black. Honestly, like while I was thinking about which one was black, that wasn't really like my main focus of reading this. It had a really good introduction from Zadie Smith, which I thought was good. I thought it kind of set the scene. It's all, I'm not gonna say it's half of the book, but that introduction was quite a bit of this book. But it was good. It was necessary, helpful. It kind of helped me get into the right mind frame when reading this. So if you haven't read it, let me know what you think. I have an opinion on who I think is black and who I think is white, but I don't want to say it on here and ruin the experience. So let me know what y'all think. Okay, my last physical book that I read was Beloved by Toni Morrison. And these three, so the three that I read in January were written in the 70s. These three were written in the 80s. And most people that I talk to about her work, they either say that The Bluest Eye or Beloved is their favorite Toni Morrison book. And I get why. This book, I put this in my full review and I'm still at the spot where I'm like, how do I really feel about this book? I don't know where I would place this yet. Like with Tar Baby, I know, and Recitative, actually. These two, they are really good, but they're my least favorite books of hers that I've read, which is not saying that they're bad because they're still good, but they're just at the bottom for me right now. This book, I'm still torn on. I feel like it's still simmering. I don't know exactly where I would place it, but it follows this family, a mother and a daughter, who moved to where they left. The mom left slavery, or she ran away from slavery and went to this other place, and the slavery plantation was called Sweet Home. So they went to this home, and it just goes through like their journey. She had to do some real messed up stuff to get free and to try to like turn her life around, not turn her life around, but start her life over. And she's doing this as a single mom at this point because she ran, and her husband or boyfriend, husband, I don't know if they're married, was supposed to be waiting for her. And when she got to this point, he wasn't there, but she had to keep running because her kids had already went ahead of her, and she was she pregnant at the time? No, she wasn't pregnant. She had 2 little girls with her and 2 sons at the time. So she had to, run to freedom. And it just goes, I take that back. She was pregnant when she ran. Anyways, it talks about her journey to get into her new town and kind of living as a free woman and what that looks like. She has a romantic interest in this, which is done way better than what was done in Tar Baby. To me, I liked it more. And then it talks about her daughter too, who's another main character, Denver, and she is a whole other dynamic character on her own. Then you got Paul D, who is the main character's love interest, Setha's love interest. And it's so interesting. It ties in so many different things. Setha went to freedom to go live with her mother-in-law, which was called Baby Suggs. And it was actually really interesting. I liked it a lot. And then you got the person who the book was named after, Beloved, who is coming back to wreak havoc. After I read this book, I watched the movie too, and the movie was creepy to me. I'm like a lightweight. I don't like to be scared of movies. I don't want to be creeped out, none of that. So the movie was a little creepy. The book was eerie, but the visual representation in the movie was kind of creepy to me. but that's just me. Okay, so that's what I read, the physical versions. I'll go over my library book that I checked out, which was King, A Life by Jonathan Eig. I already have a review up where I talked about this, but it basically covers the life of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., his accomplishments, his failures, his humanness. It really makes the point and drives the point home that he was a flawed man that accomplished great things. And it kind of set the record straight on what his actual mission was, because I think over time it kind of gets misconstrued. So I thought it was a really good book, very, very well researched. It was done with a lot of respect, but it exposed things about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. that I just never even knew. And then some other stuff that it kind of brought to the light that I knew about, but I never thought about it in that way. It talks about the political atmosphere at the time, the social atmosphere. It talked about his family, his upbringing, the community around him, what other leaders around that time were doing, even the ones that were working with him. So I thought it was a pretty good book. It was a thick one, but it was worth it. What I read on my Kindle, let me see. Okay, so the first book that I read on my Kindle is, me and my kid finished Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone this month. It was so good. Like, I'm enjoying reading it with him, but like, I've already watched the movies, but I never read the books. And I let my kid pick the books that we were going to read this year. And this is a series that he chose. And I'm glad he did, because we have a lot to say about it. So we did finish Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. I also read Fearless and Free, a memoir by Josephine Baker. While her story, and it's just released in February, I read this on my Kindle. While her story was inspiring, you can really tell she really did live like this free life. It was probably my least favorite book that I read this month, because I didn't like the way the story was told. I feel like it jumped around a lot. It wasn't really cohesive, but I enjoyed what I read. So take that as you will. I just thought it's kind of told like in conversation form. So I would be interested in picking up another book about Josephine Baker, because it was interesting. Like, I did a project about her when I was in middle school, and I always thought like, wow, she was cool. This book did have like some other elements in it that I didn't know. I didn't know her involvement in the war. That was interesting, and some other stuff around that time. So while I liked what was in the book, I guess I just didn't like the storytelling, like how the story was actually told. And then, is that it? Oh, the last book that I read on my Kindle actually was Woven, Understanding the Bible as One Seamless Story by Angie Smith. This book, I started it in December, honestly, and I just finished it in February. So that's why it's in my February wrap up. But this was one of those books that I had that I would read a little bit of like at night, like before I go to bed. So it took me a while, because I was only reading like 5 or 10 pages at a time, because I don't know, I feel like I couldn't read it straight through. It had a lot of good stuff in it. Like, it talked about how throughout the Bible, sometimes we'll read it and we'll segment it. So we won't see the entire Bible as one cohesive, seamless story. We see it as like different chunks, but it's hard for some people to relate that and like kind of see the actual journey throughout the entire Bible. So I thought it was good. She brought up where you could see Jesus in the Bible in the Old Testament. She talked about the point of it all, not like life and what your purpose is, but the point of the Bible being told in the way that it's told. It was good. It wasn't my favorite Christian book, but it was still good. I got something from it. I like that she included like a roadmap of the Bible almost, and she had a lot of visuals in there, so that was good. So yeah, this month I read 9 books. That's it. If you read any of these books, let me know what y'all think. What'd you read this month? And if you plan on reading any of these, let me know. Okay, see y'all.